Not that long ago, starting a career in America followed a simple idea. You graduate, you get an entry-level job, you learn, and slowly you move up. It wasn't easy, but it made sense. Today, that logic feels broken. Millions of young people are doing exactly what they were told to do. They go to college, they apply everywhere, they try to play it right, and still, nothing clicks. Applications disappear into a void, interviews never show up, and the few entry-level jobs that are out there come with a strange requirement: 2 years of experience, 3 years, sometimes more, for a job that's supposed to be your first step. At first, it just feels more competitive, like the bar got higher, but that's not the real shift, because the problem isn't just that the ladder is harder to climb. Yeah, it's that the first step is disappearing. And once you see that, everything else starts to make more sense. This isn't just about Gen Z struggling to get hired, it's about something deeper. The way people used to enter the workforce is quietly changing, and in its place, a new system is taking over, one that expects you to already be ready before anyone gives you a chance to become ready. In this video, we're going to unpack what actually changed, why companies stopped building beginners, why hiring now filters for what you already are, not what you could become, and why so many people feel stuck outside a system they were told would be open to them. Because what looks like a tough job market is really a redesign of how careers begin. For a long time, the career ladder worked on a simple trade. As companies didn't just hire you for what you knew, they hired you for what you could become. Entry-level jobs were exactly that, a starting point. You didn't need to have everything figured out. You just needed enough potential to be worth the investment. And companies made that investment. They trained you. They mentored you. They gave you time to learn. That system wasn't perfect, but it did something important. It created a bridge between school and real work, between being a student and becoming an adult. But over time, that bridge started to fade, not all at once, slowly, quietly, until in many industries, it's barely there anymore. Today, companies aren't just looking for talent, they're looking for readiness. People who can step in immediately. No ramp up, no long training period, no risk. Yeah, and that sounds reasonable at first, but it changes everything. Because when companies stop training, they also stop hiring beginners. And that leads to the first big shift. Hiring is no longer about potential, it's about filtering. Modern hiring is built around efficiency, applicant tracking systems, automated screening, keyword matching. On paper, these tools help manage thousands of applications. In practice, they do something else. They remove uncertainty. Instead of asking, could this person grow into the role? The system asks, do they already fit it? And if the answer isn't clearly yes, you're out before anyone even sees your name. That's efficient, but it creates a very specific problem. Because beginners, by definition, don't fit yet. They're supposed to learn, but the system isn't built to recognize that. Then it's built to filter it out, and that's how you end up with thousands of capable people who never even get a chance to prove themselves. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack proof. In a system that no longer creates that proof. At the same time, something else was shifting behind the scenes. Training started to look like a cost. And over time, companies became less willing to carry that cost. Not just big investments, small ongoing ones too. Training programs, mentorship time, onboarding. These used to be part of how companies built their workforce. Now, they're often seen as something to minimize, especially in an environment focused on short-term performance. If you can hire someone who already knows the job, why spend months training someone who doesn't? If you can outsource parts of the work, now why build that capability in-house? If you can bring in contractors, why commit to long-term development? Each decision makes sense on its own, but together, they reshape the entire system. Fewer companies train, fewer roles allow you to learn, and fewer people ever get that first real opportunity. So the burden shifts onto schools, onto internships, onto individuals. And this is where things start to break, because those alternatives don't work the same for everyone. Unpaid internships lock out people who can't afford them. Competitive programs favor people who already have advantages. More education delays entry without guaranteeing access. So instead of a clear path, you get something much more complicated, a maze, where the only way in is to already have what you're trying to get. But the real shift goes deeper than hiring tools or training cuts, because what's changing isn't just how people get jobs, it's how the system defines who gets to begin. Before, becoming a professional was a process. Now, it's treated like a requirement. You're expected to show up with experience, with skills, with proof, before anyone gives you the chance to build any of it, and that creates a contradiction that's hard to ignore. The system still tells people, go to school, work hard, do the right things, but it no longer provides the step that turns those efforts into a starting point. The ladder still exists, but the bottom rungs have been lifted, and once that happens, everything above it becomes harder to reach. Because without a first job, you can't get experience. Without experience, you can't get hired. And without being hired, you can't begin. So people get stuck, applying, waiting, trying to signal readiness in a system that no longer builds it. And over time, that stuck feeling spreads into other parts of life. You delay moving out. You delay financial independence. You delay starting a family. You delay feeling like your life has actually started. Not because you're not trying, but because the entry point isn't clear anymore. And this is where the consequences become visible. Not in reports, but in real life. You see it in graduates moving back home, in young adults juggling unstable work, in people with degrees working jobs that don't lead anywhere. You see it in that quiet anxiety, the feeling of being behind, even when you followed the plan. And that feeling isn't random. It's structural. Because what's disappearing isn't just opportunity. It's the starting point that makes opportunity possible. This isn't just about jobs. It's about access. Access to stability, to independence, to the idea that effort actually leads somewhere. And when that access becomes uncertain, everything built on top of it starts to feel shaky. So what we're really looking at isn't just a tougher job market. It's a redesign. A system that used to absorb uncertainty now pushes it onto individuals. A system that used to build workers now selects for finished ones. And a system that still looks normal from the outside, but feels closed once you try to enter it. The problem is no longer that the ladder is crowded, it's that the first step is missing. And until that changes, more and more people will find themselves standing at the bottom, ready to work, ready to learn, with nowhere to begin.